We're talking Ball State. Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State. Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells. Schumann, Bell Tower, and Worthen. Fans all over from Muncie to Berlin. Getting Concannons, Carters, and Greeks. All right, everyone out there in Cardinal land, welcome to another live edition of Ball State of the Union, your number one Ball State football podcast. By the fans, for the fans. We're talking current headlines, exclusive interviews with Cardinal athletes and coaches, and fun off-the-ball debates you won't hear anywhere else. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to us on all of your favorite social media platforms. And as always, when you hear that beautiful song in that beautiful voice, you know we're about to be doing one thing, whether it's good or bad, which after yesterday was pretty bad. We're going to be talking Ball State. I am John, your host, as always, joined tonight by Colin from Ball State Football Talk and Ball State Hall of Famer, the one, the only, Mr. Willie Snead. Now, boys, everyone out there saw the headline. They see the thumbnail. We're going to be joined by another Ball State Hall of Famer here in just 1 minute. We're bringing back the Snead and Wenning connection here tonight, and I know everyone out there is going to be excited to see these guys back on the screen together like we did all those years ago. Guys, we're starting to get a little old here, so it is. I do have to all those years ago now. But anyways, again, everyone, if you're listening right now, we are live. So if you have any questions for me or Colin, or more importantly for Willie or Keith, get them in there in the chat, and we'll read them throughout the show. And at the end of the show, we'll get to whatever hasn't come up throughout the show naturally. So a couple things. As always, we have a couple pieces of business, but even before I get to that tonight, I wanted to put something out there for everyone. We hit another channel milestone over there on YouTube. We hit our season goal with 2 weeks left. I set the goal before the season. We had just crossed that 200 subscriber mark on YouTube, and yesterday, or maybe on Friday night, I can't remember. Colin keeps me up to date usually. We hit that 300 subscriber mark, which is where I was wanting to be. So everyone out there, we appreciate all of your support. Colin, Willie,
thank you.
So we're really happy, and we appreciate everyone's support. So now we're on the road to 400. So let's get to 400. Maybe we get to 400. We'll put up some cool stuff. Maybe we'll have Mr. Snead here sign some stuff and send out to people if we hit those goals. So we're on the road to 400 now, boys. Good job.
Love it.
Okay.
Moving on up.
There we go. Now, our two pieces of business, as always. The first, Ball State of the Union is a proud partner of The Shop Indy. That is www.theshopindy.com. Use that code BSUnion at checkout, and you will get free shipping on your order. Doesn't matter what you need or what you're going to get, you'll get free shipping. With the holidays coming up, Black Friday is going to be here soon. Stock up on all your Ball State stuff and use that code BSUnion at checkout. So that is it for the shop. And also, Ball State of the Union is a proud member of the College Huddle. The College Huddle is a group nationwide of independently made, fan-made college football podcasts. So if you're interested in all things college football, Ball State, obviously you have Ball State of the Union. If you're talking any other teams, if you're a fan of Ohio State or Indiana or whoever else you might like, those teams are going to be represented there. Go check out their podcast. And actually on Wednesday, we're going to have another member of the College Huddle on to talk about Toledo. So, guys, I think without further ado, I think we should give the people what they want here.
Let's do it.
We love to see number 10 and number 3 connect back in the day, and we got him back here again. So joining us tonight, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever wear the Ball State uniform, Mr. Keith Wenning. Keith is the all-time leader in passing yards, in passing touchdowns, completions, and attempts. He's one of the first quarterback in school history to go for over 10,000 yards, and he had 4,100 yards in his last season with Ball State. So a true Cardinal legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Keith Wenning. Keith, thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure, and I was looking forward to jumping on with you guys and meeting you guys, but reconnecting with Willie as well and talking some Ball State football.
Yeah, and like I said, in the intro, the Willie Snead Keith Wenning connection is something that people have heard about for years and years and years. And Willie went on to have a great career in the NFL. He's still trying to play. He's not quite done yet, but he's still trying to play. And he played with some great quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Lamar Jackson. But for Ball State fans, when we think about Willie Snead and we think about quarterbacks, we think about one man, and that is you, Keith Wenning. So, Keith, we got you here. I'm going to kick it over to my man, Willie Snead here. I'm just going to let him take the floor, and we're all just going to sit back and listen to you guys talk about and reminisce your time at Ball State.
My boy, I appreciate you, man. It's been too long, bro. I don't know how long it's been since we last spoke. It's been a while. It's been a long time. I know one of the things I think about, Keith, like in our early days was like like the reasons we came to Ball State, right? And you were older than me. You were a freshman when I was starting to come in. I was curious, man. I never asked you this, but what made you pull the trigger on Ball State? Because like you were a big time quarterback coming out of Ohio. I remember watching you like first time on my visit against Western Michigan, and it was kind of a struggle year for you guys, but like I could tell like this guy had moxie, this guy had some grit to him. What made you choose Ball State at the end of the day? Like what made you come to Muncie?
Honestly, coming out of high school, I didn't start quarterback until my senior year. So I didn't have a bunch of game tape. I didn't have my senior year of high school, I had crazy numbers. And Ball State, I went to a couple camps. Ball State was the only college, Division I college, to offer me a scholarship to play quarterback. I had a scholarship to play linebacker at Air Force, and then was getting heavily looked at for baseball because in high school I started varsity all 4 years of high school, and I mean I had MLB scouts at practices, at games, pulled me out of school, so I was really debating whether to play baseball at the next level. But something about, I knew I was a quarterback. I knew I was good enough. I just, throughout high school, I had to be patient until my senior year. And then once I had my opportunity, I mean, I lit it up pretty good, but there wasn't a ton of tape prior to your senior season. And that's typically when you get your scholarships and whatnot. So I went to a Ball State camp before my senior season. Me and there's about 30 quarterbacks there, and myself and another kid got pulled off to the side by Stan Parrish, and he's like, "You two come with me." So I knew I made a good impression. And then throughout my senior season, the first few games, they came to games. They watched throughout the season, and then towards the end of the season is when they offered me a scholarship. And for whatever reason, I just felt like it was right. I felt like, number one, I liked that it was relatively close. I visited the campus numerous times. I felt like I could potentially play early on. I didn't have a clue, but just thinking maybe it's more realistic than going to like Ohio State or going to a Big Ten school or something, playing maybe early on. The MAC has always had a great reputation of great football. So that's kind of where my mindset was. It was a guaranteed scholarship, paid for school. That was my goal in high school, get a scholarship. Throughout college, then it was like, okay, let's get to the next level after college. But that's kind of where my mind was in high school. It's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. They want me to come in there and be quarterback, so I'm going to go all in. I forewent. I played baseball throughout my senior season, but my mindset was always football. During my spring of my senior year, knowing that I was committed to Ball State, I was actually playing a high school baseball game in the evening, and then I'd go work out after the game. I'd go run, I'd go lift and try to be prepped for come that summertime when I left right after I graduated, a week later to have that summer at Ball State. So that's kind of where my mindset was. But, arriving on campus, I had no idea. You're probably in the same boat, not knowing what to expect, not knowing anybody there on the team or from the area, but coaching staff, didn't know what I was getting myself into. So trying to figure that out early on was a process.
And I know, bro, like my story is so much different from yours, but we had Trav on here a couple weeks, and like he kind of told everybody my welcome to college moment. And I don't know if you were around when I first got to Ball State, and Connor Ryan, Zane Fakes. I owe them my life for the way that night ended. So those are my brothers, man, for life. But what was like a moment for you in college? Like when you first got out of college, whether it was workouts, games, classes, what was that moment for you? Or it's just like, welcome to college. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to college football. Like, what was that moment for you?
I'd say with the old coaching staff was a weight room moment. Being a freshman, those first summer workouts, not having any idea what they were going to be like.
Yeah.
Being in high school and stuff, our workouts, we lifted a little bit and conditioned a little bit and this and that, but it was nothing to the intensity that first summer was. I was not expecting that. Running 110s, lifting until you can't even, grip anything anymore. Your hands are shaking, your legs are shaking, everything, that's a shock to your body. And that's something you really can't prep for, by yourself unless you got a coach screaming in your face. So that was my welcome. This is college football. You're going to be, we're going to break you down and get you in the best shape of your life. That's, and being a competitor and, hard on myself, I love that. I loved, when coaches got in your face, because I'd like to give it right back to them. Especially when Feely was there, he was, you know exactly how he was. He was so hard on everybody and he would dish it to everybody. But when you would dish it back to him or you stood up for yourself or whatever, he liked that. He liked that, back and forth, and it brought out, the competition and it made everybody better. So I would say probably, that first summer, I was not expecting the workouts, the weight room. You're a freshman walking into, a locker room, a college Division I locker room and weight room, and you have these seniors, fifth year seniors, guys that are huge. That it's not high school anymore. So that atmosphere was holy cow, this is the real thing. You better put your big boy pants on and get ready to go, because there's no one's coming to save you. You better be able to handle it, or else you're gonna not last very long. So I'd say that was probably it.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. Because before Feely came, you had a different strength coach. I'm trying to remember his name. Do you remember?
Coach Naylor.
I think he's in Arizona, or he's on some NFL roster right now.
Yeah. He went to Michigan after Ball State, I think, with Hoke, and then he's jumped around a little bit. But I just saw him actually. He's with some NFL team now, I believe.
So like the transition, I'm gonna just move forward to the Pete Lembo era, because I remember watching you as a freshman, bro, and I was convinced, like I knew, like if I come here, like this is gonna be my guy. We're gonna do some crazy special things, just off of that. And I think honestly, like when Pete came in with Strosky and Gaither and all those guys, I feel like what they were putting in to us helped us believe that we can do something really special in this system, because it was different from what I was used to. It was a spread concept, a lot of wide zone game, but I feel like we thrived so well in that. What for you, and I know for me it was a little different. For you, when did it click for you, dog? Because like your sophomore year, it was like, like at IU, right? When we played at Lucas Oil, it was just like that moment that I got to see Keith like really start to become somebody that can leave a legacy, right?
Right.
For that moment for you in Strosky's system, like when did you realize like I'm gonna be putting up some big fucking numbers? Because like you saw the skill players we had, and then on top of it, your ability with the scheme. Like what in that moment, like when did you know like this can be something really special?
I'd say, if you probably don't remember, but from my freshman to sophomore year, when Lembo and Skrosky and Feely came in, Feely, he hammered me from I think that winter until spring ball. He's like, you're losing 25 pounds, whatever you got to do, you're going to be in the best shape of your life. And working with Skrosky, he really taught me the X's and O's of how to read defenses, how to understand what defenses are trying to do. I mean, I give that guy so much credit. He brought my IQ quarterback level to the next level by teaching me and constant meetings and everything reading defenses, cueing off the safeties and what backers are doing and guys that are dropping down and this and that. I really owe him a lot because going into that spring, it was still a new offense.
Right.
Spring ball, we're still trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then by fall camp and the opening of the season, I feel like it was guys were still trying to get used to the offense, trying to figure out pieces, different position players and whatnot. There's a lot of moving parts, I feel like. But I think there was a little bit of people were unexpectedly it was a little bit unexpected how we were going to be as a team. And then when we opened up with IU and ended up beating them, that was a huge, huge step in the program with the coaching staff, with our team, moving forward, confidence. It was all new weight program, everything different lifting. So I think people bought in then.
Right.
And moving forward, it was just how can we get better? How can we fine tune stuff? And then after that sophomore year, I think I don't even remember what we went, maybe 6-6. It was like, all right, let's do this again. Let's dial it in, and boom, stuff started clicking. You were balling, running backs. Our line was even, most of them came back. So, we were just kind of clicking on all cylinders at that point going into my junior year.
Right.
So yeah,
I definitely thought that spring going into your junior year was like pivotal because like I felt because like that first year, like you said, like we were getting our feet wet in the system. We were really trying to figure out how we were going to be. And I think once we got into that second winter program with Feely and it kind of just went into the spring, like I don't know about you, bro, but I saw the writing on the wall and I'm like, we can be really special, especially with the weapons we had around us. It was just like all we had to do was just work and trust each other. And I think that's why we were just so good and different. Because I feel like honestly, Keith, like and John and Colin, you can tap in on this, is I haven't seen a Ball State team offensively
No.
since we left. And like that kind of like it hurts me a little bit. It makes me feel some type of way because it's like we have the athletes. Ball State has the athletes. So they have the quarterback, right? Most of the time they have the quarterback, but it's like I'm still waiting for that type of offense again, man. And it's just like it sucks because like when we were doing it, man, it was explosive, it was fun. We won a lot of games.
right.
But I
Put
don't
up
know,
a
man.
ton of yards, big numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It was exciting,
It was.
But yeah, I don't think they've had number one, the surrounding athletes around a quarterback, and honestly, a quarterback that can spread the ball. I mean, there's been a couple guys that have been able to move the ball downfield, but to spread the ball like we did, I haven't seen that yet. And I'm trying to be modest, but there's so many times where me and you would be on the same page. Whether it was a hand signal or just a go ball that if that defender was on your upfield shoulder, you would knock it off. I'd throw a comeback before you even make a move. It was just repetition, practicing at the indoor field, at the rec, not the new indoor field.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
But it was just trusting each other and that relationship that we had, Jameel, Jordan, Connor, Zane. I mean, it was special, along with the running backs and stuff. It was something that there was a lot of repetition I went into it, and being together for those couple years, it was awesome. I mean, it made it fun on my end, running the offense, knowing you guys are going to, be where you need to be, do what you need to do. But essentially it made it easy for me. I just had to get you guys the ball and then let the athletes make plays,
That's right.
Yeah, it was funny because as a student at the time, going to the games, you'd walk into the games or turn the game on TV, and we had so much prolific people at every single position. It was just like, all right, who's going to have the big game today? Is it going to be Willie today? Is it going to be Jordan Williams? Is it going to be Jamil? Is Jawan going to have 200 yards today and 3 touchdowns? Like, you just never knew where it was going to come from. It was so awesome to watch. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of go back down that glory, and
Right.
6 wins, 9 wins, or 6 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, like going up. It was awesome.
And the thing is, like, I don't know who it was. If it might have been Stan Parrish when I was there my freshman year. It might have been Lembo. I don't remember, but I do remember someone saying, the talk was about like the fans in the stands, and they say in the MAC, if you win, people will come. If you don't win, there's going to be nobody there. And it's sad to see the games that I've gone to, I've watched on TV, the lack of fans in this, whether it's students or whatever. But like in our time, I mean, I felt like every home game, especially when we were good and, the later years, I mean, that place was packed, and it just made the atmosphere, the energy, your adrenaline, everything, it amped up everything where, you could truly get into it and do your best, and it brought out the best in all of us to have that support. So
that's so true. That's so true, Keith. And it's like you really gotta win games, man. Like people not gonna show up if you don't win, right? Like so it's like you have to take that seriously. And you only get 10 of them, right? 10, 12 maybe. And it's just like you gotta go all out every time. And I think back too, and I can't remember. There's probably a couple games where it wasn't packed out, but there was like going into your senior year, bro, like I feel like every home game was packed out, because it's like they knew what they were coming to see, right? And I think with this Ball State team, if we're talking about, here 2025, it's like we don't know what we're gonna get every Saturday. And that's the frustrating part with this, because I see the athletes, right? I know that they have athletes over there, playmakers that can do stuff with the ball, but it's like we don't know which Ball State offense we're gonna get, and it's frustrating because when we were in it, we knew exactly who we were, and we knew exactly what we needed to do to execute and get the job done. And it's hard to see that right now. It's frustrating.
Right.
How do they fix that, Keith? How do they fix that?
I'm hoping this coaching staff, it's their first year going into the second year. They make, huge leaps. I don't know them all that well. I know a little bit of the head coach's background. I actually spoke with Jordan Lynch a few times prior to the season, right when he got hired. So knowing a little bit of his background, but I think it's, whether it's recruiting, whether it's, first season, trying to get, the pieces all together and stuff like that. It may be, a little bit of a building. I don't know exactly, but, I think Ball State has everything you need. We have the indoor now, we have the facility, so there's no excuses, so it's a matter of putting the pieces together, and you have to perform. You have to execute. You have to hit the weight room hard. You have to do the summer workouts. And I mean, we had so many back in our time. We had so many 7-on-7s that the players ran. Coaches aren't allowed to be there. I think that's still the rules, today. But just team ran 7-on-7s, against the defense, and no one's hitting or anything, but you're getting reps, whether you're going 75% or what, you still are getting mental reps. You're still going through calls on offense, defense. We did that a lot throughout the summer. And so by the time you get to fall camp, you're ready for that, because some of the 7-on-7s that we had, I remember in fall camp, I don't know how many times I would see Willie and EP go against each other and just battle. It was a lot of, it was the relationship where they loved each other so much and jawed at each other so much and made them so much better. They would work each other's butts off to just compete. And I loved going at EP, Jeff Garrett, and those guys were some dogs. I mean, and they made our receivers better. They made me better. But that's the stuff I remember of, just like the practices, the fall camps, of just competition, constant competition, talking a lot of smack to each other, but that's what made us better. And that honestly, that's the stuff that I miss. I mean, the games and stuff, all that kind of, yeah, you miss that. You miss the touchdowns. You miss the the wins and all that kind of stuff. But the practices and the talking and all that kind of stuff, that's the fun stuff. I mean, yeah, that brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah, and
Keith,
Keith, go ahead, Colin. Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Keith your favorite win, and maybe the best win at Ball State. Like if you're looking back, the win that you're most proud of.
Favorite win, maybe.
I could probably call this one.
There's a couple.
Maybe. I mean, yeah. I mean, possibly either Virginia or the IU games. Winning against IU 2 years in a row, that was awesome. I mean, a heck of a catch, last second catch, and then go and kick a field goal. Unbelievable. I mean, IU just thought they were going to roll over on us, and it wasn't going to be a game. But to do that 2 years in a row was just like, they were so mad. It was unbelievable. So it was a great feeling. The Virginia game, same thing. They thought they were just going to, we were just going to roll over and they were going to take it. I mean, we played good. And guys were going in and out because of, heat and all that kind of stuff, being dehydrated. But we kind of stuck together and made some huge plays, and they were not expecting that. So, I mean, there's a lot of games, even like Kent State, at Ball State, we had, they had a good team. They had Dree Archer. They had, what's the dude, D tackle's name?
I know you're talking about this big guy.
He played Nix. He played Roosevelt Nix. He played fullback for the Steelers for many years. But they were a good team, and to beat them in our house and go on a last second drive, I think Willie scored the last touchdown. Great game. I mean, there's a lot of them that come to mind, but I'd say those couple were probably the best.
Keith, you brought up the IU game when we played at Bloomington, and like just take us back in the moment, because I remember. Do you remember the conversation we had on that last play? Because we ran it twice, and I think the first time, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the look that we saw, because our curls converted to
a corner, pretty much.
Yeah. And I think there was a look that they were giving us the whole drive. They stayed in that too high, and I told you, I don't know if I told you or Strassi, but I said something out loud. I was like, man, like if they give us this cover 2, the sidelines will be wide open. And I can't remember the full conversation because there was a timeout.
Yeah, just timeout right before the play.
Yeah,
I faintly remember that we were in the huddle on the sideline or whatever at the timeout. And I think you said it to me, honestly. If they go that cover 2 look, I'm converting it, and sure enough, that's what we got.
Like
that was huge.
Tough throw, John. Like John, the guy threw the ball before I broke out, and all I do is see the ball, and I have to like dive to get it because you threw it early, and
somehow stayed in bounds.
Yeah,
the clock stopped with 1 second.
It was all I was sitting in that. Basically that sideline right where that play happened, so I couldn't see it all, and I knew I thought IU was going to try they're going to let that clock run out. You got the home guys running the clock and everything, so they failed that day by not letting that second go off.
Oh, for sure.
I wanted to ask you about that because that's like the 2 big throws that always stick out to me from your time at Ball State, Keith. Actually, both to Willie. That one right there to set up that game-winning field goal for Steven Schott, and that throw to take the lead against South Florida. Both unbelievable throws and unbelievable catches. Which of those, maybe in your mind, either was maybe a better throw or a better catch from Willie? Which of those stands out to you more?
I would say, both unbelievable. I'd say which one was more, satisfying. South Florida, they're different. IU was absolutely great to beat them 2 years in a row and kind of put it in their face like, you're not walking all over us. pretty much make a staple, that 2 years in a row, neutral site, your guys' place, what else do you want? South Florida, the year prior, Willie, did you play down in Tampa?
I suited up, but I didn't play.
So down in Tampa when we played South Florida, they were so much bigger than us, so much faster than us, and that was our first year with the new coaching staff. We did not belong on that field at that time. Going into that next year, when they were coming to our place, we had another full off season, full winter workouts, summer workouts. We were bigger, faster, stronger, and honestly, we were matched pretty well with them. Our offense was clicking on all cylinders, and that showing them that, hey, we were making plays, we weren't backing down. So to be able to make a amazing, I think it was under a minute left or 2 minutes left, something like that, to take the lead with that touchdown was unbelievable. I mean, it got challenged, seeing it on replays, just unbelievable catch, and thankful that he caught that to take the lead and pull it out. So.
Yeah, and the EP closed it out. It was that was again one of the better memories. Before I kick it back to Colin here, I wanted to ask one more question about that IU game in Bloomington because it's a huge one in Ball State history. Keith, what do you prefer? Do you prefer throwing touchdown passes or catching them?
I'd say throwing for sure. That reverse throw from Jamil for that touchdown. That was. I don't even know if we repped that, and we had to rep it, but I don't remember visualizing it in practice going that way. Honestly, I didn't expect anybody defender to be out there. He didn't know, where the ball was at all when I went to catch it. I did not look like an athlete when I caught that ball, but I was so amped up, after I called it for a touchdown. I wish that was the last time we ever ran that play, because the next time we ran that play, I broke my ankle. So,
I remember that. Oh my God.
Versus Ohio in Muncie. So, but that's neither here or there. But unbelievable play. That was a huge momentum swing. They weren't expecting it, so it was definitely a memorable moment. So yeah.
It spawned a pretty iconic photo too. You'll see it in the team meeting room. You look pretty sweet in that picture.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully that stays up there a while.
There we go. All right, Colin, I know you have a handful of questions for Keith. I'll let you get back to it now.
Keith, when we interviewed Travis Freeman just a couple weeks ago, he praised your composure, stating you have the perfect composure for a quarterback, never getting too high and never getting too low. Where did that aspect of your game come from, and how much do you think that really helped you take your game to the next level?
Honestly, I don't know where it came from. It's just kind of how I've always been, even throughout high school. I was always kind of like cool, calm, and collected, never got too high, never got too low. Going into my freshman year at Ball State, we weren't very good, and I was figuring it out, as a freshman playing against, Purdue. I think Purdue was my first start. I got told about 10 minutes before the game, hey, you're starting today. We were in the locker room and Coach Parrish said, hey, you're starting today. So lining up and Ryan Kerrigan is, across the ball. He sacked me all day long. And we should have won that game. I threw a bad interception in the end zone. One of our DBs missed a pick six that would have walked in the end zone.
Yep.
But going through my freshman year, that was kind of very humbling, knowing that coming from high school, all we did in high school was win. So getting to that level and not winning more than we won was very humbling. It showed me that I needed to work, extra on this, on that, on everything to get my body in a better place than what it was. There was a lot of things that I had to figure out how to perform at that level. And so I feel like that was very humbling. So when I got to that next stage of, okay, I'm starting to figure it out. I'm starting to be able to pick apart defenses, be on the same page with our offense, get guys in the best position possible. I feel like that's where, we'd make big plays and it was like, all right, that's what we should be doing. So, but yet, when bad plays happen, it was like, all right, we got to get them next time. There's no getting down. I mean, there's definitely times where you get extra amped up or you get, you get hard on yourself and get down, but trying to just maintain that even keel, level head, because everybody's watching you. Fans are watching you, little kids are watching you, your teammates are watching you, coaches are watching you. If you get gun shy or if you get that affects everybody. So when you step in that huddle and you got some sort of moxie about you, everybody's looking at you. I don't know how many 2-minute drives that we had to go on, whether it was before half or at the end of a game to go down and score. It's all right, fellas, let's go one more drive. Let's get this, let's execute whatever needs to be said. But everybody's looking at you to be the leader to run the offense. And like Coach Feely, he really pushed me when he got there that, you're the general. He always called me general. You're leading this team. So, whatever you got to do it. You're the general. We go by how you go. And I really took that into heart, to do what I could and everything I had to try to have everybody have that confidence and get the best out of everybody.
And all that's a mindset, Colin, right? It's like you have to be able to work on that. And I think that's where we missing with our own team in 2025 is just guys just in that mindset, right? And I'm just going to piggyback off of what he said real quick, because Strosky was our OC and he was a big time on just staying even keeled the whole game. And because our offense was so explosive, right? So there was always the highs and the lows of the game. But he always told us one thing is just if we stay even keeled the whole time, we'll never fall off, right? Because we're gonna make plays, we're gonna mess up, right? There might be a fumble, we might score a touchdown, but if we're all staying the same way, it's we won't have any emotions, we won't have those times where we fall flat or we just disappear for a quarter, right? So that was kind of the thinking. I just thought of Strassi because I remember there was one of our offensive meetings and he spoke on that when you were talking. It just hit my brain real quick.
For sure. And I want to remind the viewers, we got 230 something people watching on Twitter right now. If you're watching, get your questions in, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you are. Keith, when we first interviewed Willie, before Willie was even a member of the pod, was a host on here, he gave you a big shout out and said when he went on his recruiting trip to watch you play when you were a freshman, he knew instantly that he could see himself playing with you. At what point and maybe what game do you remember thinking, oh, I got a real chemistry with Willie here. We could maybe do something special?
I think it was way before the first game that we played together. It was whether it was spring ball or throughout the summer or fall camp. I mean, Willie, I don't know if you guys ever shook Willie's hand. He's got some big hands, and there was a lot of times where, I wouldn't be the most accurate or whatever throwing to him, and he would pull the ball down and catch it. I mean, he had the surest hands of anybody at Ball State that I've ever played with. Or that I've ever played with, period. So I had so much confidence in him, and he was a student of the game. He worked his butt off to get where he got, year after year at Ball State, let alone the NFL. But, the chemistry and, he had it up here as well. We were able to talk to each other in different ways. Hey, I'm going to do this. Hey, I'm going to do this. If I throw the ball here, you're going to go this way. If I throw it here, you're going this way. Just the chemistry we had and the trust that I had in him, and I think that he had in me, knowing that, when he puts his foot in the ground and turns, that ball is going to be relatively close to where he wants it. There's been a few times where I've probably let him too much and got him hit pretty good. But that's football. So, but yeah, just the chemistry, the knowledge, being on the same page. A ton of reps, just a lot of practice and trusting each other that, hey, I'm going to try to get you in the best position possible, and him trusting me, hey, he's going to get me, the ball when I'm where I'm supposed to be, and things like that. So, going into the first game we played together, I think the relationship was built long before that.
And one thing for sure, Colin, is like I was determined to make sure Keith was my best friend. Like I think there was when we finally moved out of the dorms, like I made a conservative effort to find out where Keith was living, because I wanted to be like his neighbor. And it was like I think it was your senior year, Keith, and we were living over there off of what's the street called? Golly, it was like Cardinal.
Oh yeah.
We were on the corner right there in that beat up apartment building.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, Colin, like I was gonna do whatever I had to make sure when Keith opens up his front door, I'm right there. I'm like, let's go, bro. Like I'm here with you, because they had, I think it was you, Connor, and Zane, right? You guys were in the same.
Yeah.
Like those are my guys, Colin, and that's like why, like to this day, it's like, I still take a deep off of Keith. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Keith, I do want to fast forward to your senior night. We just had senior night yesterday. Your senior night in particular, you balled out. Willie had 11 catches for over 100 yards. What do you remember about that game in specific?
I remember Miami wasn't very good. We were already bowl eligible. So going into that game, I knew it was all going to be about execution. We were going to be able to do whatever we wanted to do. From the opening coin flip, I think we won the toss, we deferred, and their opposing players said, well, you guys are about to kick our ass. That's literally what they told us out on the middle of the field. And I was like, yep, all right, let's go. So going from the first snap, we were able, they were so bad. We weren't even in the same category. We were able to do whatever we wanted to do. And I think they just kind of gave up on the season already. But yeah, we were able to pick them apart. I think we threw for like 6 touchdowns that game and a bunch of yards. So it was definitely a fun game. It was definitely a stat building game. Not that matters, but it was fun to be able to execute, put a bunch of points on the board. Definitely a confidence boost for us as a team, as an offense, as a college. It was a great game to go out on senior night with.
Hell yeah.
Before I ask any NFL related questions, I just want to know, do you still watch Ball State? Maybe how frequently? And then if so, if you've seen this team, really, what's your take on this year's team?
I try to watch them as often as I can. Like I said, I haven't made it back to a game this year, though. Usually try to go to a game or two a year. But I think with this team, I think there's trying to figure out an identity, with, like I said before, with the new coaching staff coming in, guys really understanding what they're trying to do. I feel like the coaching staff is still trying to maybe get their feet wet, trying to figure out, their own players, their own guys, their own athletes. I'm really hoping that going into next year, they make strides and leaps. It's something that kind of reminds me of when Coach Lembo and that coaching staff came in, with us. Because like Willie said, they have the athletes. It's just a matter of X's and O's, and pretty much executing and guys being in the right places, getting guys, the ball. But I feel like there's, it's been a struggle because they haven't figured that out yet. And you can kind of tell watching some games that there's either confusion, there's not knowing maybe possibly what guys can do what if they're not in the right positions and things like that. So I feel like, let this coaching staff get another year of recruiting. And honestly, the whole NIL and transfer portal, that's changed the game, that's changed. I think it hurts Ball State, honestly, but hopefully they can kind of pull some strings and use it to their advantage, going into next year. But I feel like that's the biggest thing is this coaching staff getting another year under their belts, really digging in and creating an identity for the team to compete, week in and week out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith.
My NFL. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
My bad. My NFL question for you, Keith, just is, what was it like being on the Bengals active roster, backing up A.J. McCarron right after Andy Dalton went down?
It was awesome. I mean, it was my first time being active. And honestly, being with the Ravens and then going to Cincinnati, I traveled with the team. I did everything that the quarterbacks did, just didn't get that many reps in practice. But, prepping week in and week out, learning each week's system, watching just as much film, trying to prep myself mentally. There's a lot of weeks where I knew I wasn't dressing or anything like that, but so come to the couple weeks of being active with Cincinnati, I was doing the same process. Me and AJ we were good friends and still to this day, but helping him get prepared, we would go in, early every morning, watch film, watch blitz cut-ups, going over our whole play sheets, different motions, different, everything, formations, and just trying to prep him and get him ready, for those coming weeks, because it was his first time, playing as well. So it was definitely a cool experience, going through pre-games and everything, mentally preparing myself on the sideline. If he goes down, I'm in.
Right.
So, cool experience, and, something that there's millions and millions of people out there that have no idea what that feeling's like. Willie, obviously you do. But, something that I'll always be able to say I was able to do and to prep for it and to be ready for it and actually physically be there. Something that, forever grateful for, and a lot of guys and a lot of coaches and everything along the way that helps you get to that point. But yeah, cool. Cool part of my life for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Keith, funny enough, we were in Muncie together for 3 years. I never ran into you once. I don't think I ever met you there. The only time I've ever met you in person was on the field in Cincinnati in 2016. I was worked in the equipment room for the Indianapolis Colts, and I came in and said something to you pregame in that last preseason game. The Colts and Bengals always used to play that last preseason game. So funny enough, I never met you in Muncie, but in the middle of the 50-yard line in the NFL field, that's one place I've ran into you before.
I honestly don't remember that.
No, I'm sure you don't. Yeah. That's the one place I ran into you ever. So, Keith, before we get you out of here, we got a handful of questions and comments from the viewers right now. So I want to get those out there to you. The first one from Ball State Dad Life over on Twitter. He just says, "We miss Keith. He misses you, Keith. He wants you back."
I miss you too.
There we go. Tim Christian over on YouTube. He has a couple here. So he's thankful for your time for Ball State. He said, what do you guys carry from your experiences with Pete Lembo? Not necessarily from football, but what taught you about life, maybe? Like, what'd you carry past football into your everyday life now that you learned from your time at Ball State?
I mean, from Coach Lembo, he was, not many people know this, but he had his stuff together. If he met somebody, he never forgot their name. He was a huge history buff, but that's kind of how he coached football as well. He wanted to. There's times where he could get on some dudes for screwing up because he was pretty much a perfectionist, which I kind of consider myself that as well. I wanted to do everything right. I wanted to be perfect. Not satisfied if I throw a bad ball, if I make a bad read, whatever the case may be. I was hard on myself, but I feel like with Coach Lembo, he was kind of a perfectionist with how our offense ran, how our defense ran, for sure how the special teams ran. And we had a great relationship. He put a lot of trust in me, put a lot of trust in Willie and some other guys on our team, and really took our leadership, our opinions, and used them for our team. So he was definitely, he valued certain guys' opinions when he knew they were coming from the right place. So I think that's something that I take from him is just, he was a perfectionist. He worked hard. He put a lot of time in, but definitely a people person, and definitely, was very, very personable.
And Tim had a couple other things as well here. He said he's also on the sidelines with you guys for the NIU loss in 2012. He's with our good friend Chris Radican. He said it was awful, but great memories. And we had the last bronze stock game a few weeks back here, and it did not go well. As well. One of the games, Keith, that we talked about a lot on this channel is that big 2013 game in DeKalb that night. Under the lights, it was I think we had 9 wins and they were maybe at 8 wins or something like that. It was a huge matchup, one of the biggest ones I can ever remember. Can you kind of walk us through that night? Obviously, we all know how it went, but maybe just the build up to it, how much different it felt around campus and just around your day-to-day life going into that big game.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that they were a really good team. They had some great athletes, guys that went on and played in the NFL for a while. So we had a great team too. So we knew it was going to be a dogfight, and going into their house, it was packed, as cold as can be. But we were prepared, I feel like we put our best foot forward. Honestly, one of the louder games that I've been a part of, surprisingly in that stadium, we played in front of in Clemson and Oklahoma and then, super loud games. But being in their home stadium, it was packed house, and very loud. But we just couldn't finish. I mean, we couldn't do what we needed to do to win the game. 2012. Now we should have won that game in 2012. I think that was against Chandler Harnish. It was the quarterback at that time, but that was a late roughing the passer penalty call that we got an interception for a touchdown and they called it back. But yeah, I mean, back in 2013, that was a tough one to swallow, just because, we really felt like we could have came out of that game with a W for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then our last one here for you, Keith, from our good friend Shay over on Twitter. He said, Keith, it's great to hear from you. What was your favorite game day atmosphere, either college or professional?
There's a lot of them. I mean, it's hard to compare. I mean, there's something about, and Willie will attest to this, I'm sure, there's something about getting to an NFL stadium early before anybody's in there, doing your warm-ups out in the field. I mean, there's really no comparison to that. I mean, you're throwing with your guys on the field, you're getting loose. You got music playing and all that kind of stuff. And then running out of a tunnel with, in an NFL stadium, there's nothing like that. I mean, there's only a couple of times in college where, something would compare to that, and maybe Clemson, maybe Oklahoma. I mean, there's a few other stadiums that are similar, but favorite game day atmosphere. I mean, there's too many to even pinpoint one. I mean, I'm sure Willie will attest to that. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint.
I can't even compare it, dude, because like when you're in college, like Ball State's lower D1. The stadium's not as big, it's not as packed. But when we first stepped on that NFL field, like you said, the atmosphere is different. There's packed house, right? Like you're looking at Ring of Honor in the stadium, like some people that you used to grow up watching, and you get to prepare, warm up, suit up, right? It's just the whole build up is just different. It's just so different from college, man, because you're being treated like a professional, right?
Mhm.
Like
Right.
college, you got to be at this spot at this time, boom, 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 boom. In the league, it's like, man, do what you need to do to get ready. We'll see you 5 minutes before we leave out. And that was kind of like that moment. It's just like, all right, I can really get myself right and focus on me and do what I need to do to be ready. So, like you said, Keith, it can't really compare it because it's just too. Now, if we were at like the University of Bama, right, and we were playing in those type of atmospheres every weekend, like, okay, now I'm sure the comparison is a little different, but coming from where we're at, Ball State, you know, you can't compare that to the NFL stadium, dog. It's
Right.
not even close.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Keith, it's been awesome. Before we let you go, though, I'm gonna kick it back to Willie Snead one last time. Willie, again, this was the connection everyone saw for those 3 years, and everyone remembers so fondly. Do you have any final words for I'll say your first quarterback?
That's my dog, man. No, it's just this interview just went by way too fast, man. Like I feel like we could do this for a couple more hours, But I always loved Keith. I always appreciated him, man. Life after football is probably pretty good for you with you and your babies and wife at the house. I can relate. But it's really good to see you, bro. I'm really happy you got to come on and kind of just, reflect on the old days, man, the glory days, and it's always good seeing you, brother. I really do miss you, dog.
Hey, same with you. Willie at Ball State, he was my, quote unquote, he was my safety net, as a receiver. If I was in trouble, where's Willie at? You hear guys talk about that in the league. Different, quarterback receiver duos. He honestly was like my safety net. If I needed to go with the ball somewhere, I'm always looking his way first. I had that much trust in him. He was that good of a receiver.
Okay.
If someone jumped off sides, I'm throwing that thing up to Willie. He's going to go get it. I mean,
We're going
that's
to get
just
that.
that's just how I felt about him and our relationship. I got so much respect for him, his knowledge, his work ethic. I catch myself when I'm putting my kids to bed at night. I'll look up YouTube videos of our college days and like watching videos, watching different games and stuff like that. Like it's memories that I'll never forget. And obviously he was a huge part of that. And, I wouldn't have got where I got without him. And, it just goes, it's unsaid how much respect I have for him. Like I said, just from his work ethic and everything, that it was a special time. And, the relationship was it was mutual. So, I mean, it was so much fun. So
Thank you,
I
brother.
appreciate it.
Yep,
No
perfect.
doubt, bro.
And you say this was great. Like I said, I was a student for 3 of the years you were in school there, and it was awesome to see you guys play week in and week out. And we're still trying to replicate it now to this day. So, Keith, we appreciate your time. Sit down with us tonight, and open invite to come back on whenever you'd like. It was great hearing what you had to say, and hopefully we hear from you again soon.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks, Willie. Good seeing you. Good luck with the kids and the wife, and hopefully another opportunity to suit up for somebody. I mean, I don't know how you're not, but that's just my 2 cents. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to
Thank you.
possibly being with you guys again. So
Perfect.
thank you.
All
Much
right.
love,
Thanks, Keith.
Hey, appreciate it.
All
right, bro.
righty. All right. Willie, how awesome was that?
Dude, that's my boy, man. You don't. I don't think you guys understand, man. It's
Mhm.
just we was 19, 20, just slinging the rock around in Muncie, man. Just having a good time doing it. That's
Man, it was
that's
awesome.
that's a guy, man. Like
Mhm.
there is no Willie Snead without Keith Wenning. Put it
Man,
that way.
it was awesome. Yeah, and just talking back at the offense, all the guys we had on the team, obviously
Mm,
you and Keith, Jawan, Jamil,
yeah,
Jordan Williams, Zane Fix, all this. I wish we had that back, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. Obviously,
loaded.
we do not have that right now, but we're going to get to that in a second. But everyone out there listening, um, let us know. We've had a couple of really great people on here recently with Travis Freeman and Keith Wenning, Juwan Edwards a little while back. Let us know what other former players you want to hear from, and we'll reach out and we'll try and knock them down, get them on here. So put in the comments anyone you want to hear from. We're always looking out there, we're putting our feelers out there. We're looking for guys. So anyone you fans want to hear from, let us know in the comments, and we will we'll see what we can do. So.
Definitely.
Um, Also, everyone, make sure you subscribe. The show's not over. We're about to get into this EMU recap here, which it was definitely something. But we got a lot of people watching right now, so be sure to go over to YouTube if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. And leave a comment there. Let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're watching from, maybe. And we loved it. We love to see where Ball State of the Union has made it out there. So be sure to subscribe. So, all right, now that was a fun trip down memory lane. Now, unfortunately, we got to come back to reality here.
Yeah,
Boys, that was one of the uglier games I have ever seen yesterday.
yeah.
And we'll kind of start with we'll save the offense for later. Okay, we'll save the offense for later. So we'll kind of go through the defense and special teams first, because I don't think they were nearly as egregious. I would say they weren't even that bad. But we'll get to the really bad. So Colin, I'll start with you. You were there at the game. What'd you think of the defense yesterday? And just it seemed like they're an uphill battle just because we could not get anything going on the offense side of the ball.
Defense was all right for sure. We got a couple takeaways. Michael Gravely Jr. had a big pick, and then later McCargo got another pick. There were a couple stops that were timely. It did feel like a bend don't break sort of game. It seemed like the defense was just kind of holding on, waiting for the offense to get ready. But unlike the other games, the offense just never heated up. So, the score looks like what it does. Even though it's not terrible, 24-9, they didn't put up a ton of points. It did kind of run away from us. And then once it was there, I felt like the offense kind of just fell flat. And, defense, I'd give them about like a B minus, John. It wasn't great, but it was still solid.
Yeah, Willie, it's just like it seemed like any time yesterday the defense would come up with a good play or something, like it just seemed like it didn't even really matter for that. And
Yeah.
it seemed like once the score was 24-6, it might as well have been 56-6. But for you, Willie, from the defense, I think there's probably a couple of plays that they would like to have back. There's a couple big plays that Eastern Michigan had, but for the most part, they held them in check fairly well. What do you think defensively? This is a good offense that Eastern Michigan has, and only giving up 24 points isn't that bad. But what was your kind of takeaway from the defense yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it, like Colin said, it was a bend but don't break type of mentality. I mean, they played their asses off, man. When you watch the silent tape, you see guys are committed to running to the football, right? And that stuff is contagious, and it's just that type of juice and energy on defense is why this team has the potential to be really good. But when the defense gets stops or gets a turnover and we don't capitalize on that opportunity, that's the deflating part of this whole deal. And Vorez, he's always doing his thing. Guys just stepped up all game, and you can only do so much, right? Like these guys are going on the field like 5 minutes later. They had a great stop, and now they're right back on the field. And it's tough. It's tough to be able to go out there and compete like that, especially when we're talking about an offense who is pretty explosive in their own way. Because they had two running backs that were legit runners. Heavy guys, and then the quarterback is probably one of the better ones in the MAC, and they had receivers, so I think they did solid. Obviously, they've been giving up busting coverages all year, but I feel like they've gotten so much better to the point where we expect this defense to get a turnover each game, right? They've become that, and I think that's just a credit to them just continuing to be opportunistic on defense, and then just getting better each and every week. But I mean, we'll talk about the offense later, but it's that part that really needs to be fixed. So the defense, it's like we'll really be able to see how good this defense is, when the offense starts to click, and it's not there yet, and it's putting a lot of pressure on the defense, right, to be able to get these stops and keep the games close, and that's not good winning formula right there.
Yeah, you're talking about the takeaways and the uptick we've had recently. I think they showed a stat during the broadcast yesterday where I think maybe through the first 5 games of the year, I think we had forced 1 turnover, and then I think maybe the last 4 or 5 we forced like 9 or something like that. So it had been a big uptick recently. These last handful of games. So. Colin, I'll kick it back to you here. We'll kind of run through special teams as well right now. DC Pippin 3 for 3 day yesterday. I like to see that. That's that would be a winning formula if the offense could do their part, getting those extra points when drives stall out. And then obviously they had a nice kick return later in the game that could have set them up as well to score. But I know you're a big special teams guy. Anything I missed special teams wise, or anything you want to reiterate on?
Special teams, just like what you were talking about earlier, has been another thing that, the first half of the season was kind of a mess. Second half, they've really stepped it up. So, of course, DC Pippin went 3 for 3, but we had a couple kick return, punt returns that were pretty solid that got us on the other half of the field. Now, we didn't do a whole ton with it once we got it on that side of the field. I think it might have set up a field goal or 2 on special teams. So, other than that, you about nailed it. But yeah, special teams was probably the highlight of the day. DC Pippin had our season-long field goal. I think it was 42, so not tremendously far, but for us, that's about 50-something. Just how the kicks have been going. And when we touched down in Muncie, because I was there for the game, when we got there, it was a windy sort of day. I thought wind was going to be a factor again, and DC Pippin handled it. So give him credit for that. I think we probably should have kicked another field goal. We'll probably get into that later, but I was confident he would have made that as well. So that's what I noticed on special teams, John.
Yeah, we had made such a small amount of field goals throughout the year, hitting 3 yesterday. I don't know if that probably wasn't the whole season total, but it probably wasn't that far off from it. So, good day from them. I'll give them that. Willie, anything else that we didn't touch on that you noticed out of them?
No, I thought DC Pippin, came to play, and just off of last week, just something to build off of. It was good to see, because a couple of those kicks were tough, man. Like, just under the lights and action, first start, right? It's the jitters, the nerves are there, and he came back this week and he went 3 for 3. That was awesome to see. So, big shout out to DC Pippin doing his part. And then, everything else on special teams, the returns got to keep coming, man. Because, I think those plays are those are the plays where it's just like, man, if you want to steal a possession or if you want to make a game-changing play and put it in our favor, like those opportunities you never want to take for granted. So it's good to see that those guys are, like, blocking it up and, TJ Horton seeing it and hitting it.
Mm-hmm. All right. We just got to get into it here. Offensively. Yeah. I'm going to read some stats before I kind of say what I got to say.
Go ahead, man.
Passing wise, yesterday, 13 to 22, 68 or 62 yards, average of 2.8 yards per completion, no passing touchdowns, 1 interception, QBR of 9.4, not 90.4, 9.4. Receptions, we had 1 for 19 yards. Then here's our receiver totals. 9 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards, -2 yards. So they are kind of moving the ball around a little bit, but we only had 1 receiver eclipse 10 yards of passing yesterday. Willie, you're going to have to explain this to me and what is going on with this passing offense, because it seems like it's not working at any level. And this is not, I'm not singling out any one person. It's the whole team.
Yeah.
We can't find open guys. Guys can't get open. We're not pass blocking very well. Kyle's, on the move all the time. We're dropping balls. Yeah. Nothing in this passing offense worked yesterday. And we've had some games like that throughout the year where they just cannot do anything. And these teams can just sell out on the run, which is supposed to be, our bread and butter. They rushed for, 150 yards yesterday, which, it is all well and good, but what is going on with this pass offense? I feel like every game I've ever watched in my life of football, you'll have one throw at some point where a guy is wide open 10 yards down the field with nobody around him. And we do not have that ever.
Yeah.
What is going on with this passing offense? You are the perfect person to ask about this. What are you noticing with this, and why is it failing at such a level that it's failing at?
It's a couple of things. I think the first one is just the consistency of it, of executing the offense is not there. And I don't know if it's during the week of practice, it's just not enough reps, or maybe, they don't have enough plays in for Kyle Kelly to kind of get into a rhythm. And I spoke on this in the beginning of the year when I first got on the pod. It's just trying to get the most out of Kyle. And one of the things I mentioned is trying to get the quarterback into a rhythm early, right? See a completion happen, right? Because that does a lot. You throwing your first pass is caught versus incomplete, right? It just gives you a boost of confidence to start getting into that rhythm to where you're just lethal. And, I think back to Keith and just, how he just used to take over the offense. And right now, I just don't see Kyle taking over the offense. I feel like there's some type of miscommunication at some point. Guys aren't getting open. I don't know what the scheme is. I don't know what the plays are, but it's just, it looks like there's a lack of confidence in what is being called. And either way, whatever is called, right, those guys have to go out there and execute it, right? Because there was plays where Limbo called something and I thought it was dirt trash, right? I didn't think that was the right play, but that was the play that was called, and I got to execute it at a high level so we can keep this thing going. And John, honestly, I just don't see the confidence in the offense. Whatever we're trying to be, it's a huge question mark. I don't know if we want to be a run team. I don't know if we want to be a pass team. I don't know what's the direction of this offense, because it's hard to speak on this and say where's the issue at, but it's just I don't even know what we're trying to accomplish in our offense. Are we trying to establish the run and build everything off of that, or are we trying to get completions? We're trying to spread them out, get our playmakers the ball in space. That's the biggest question mark to me, is just what is the identity of the offense? And through, what is this, 8, 9 games, I think all of us have the same answer. It's just we have no idea what this identity is. And we know Kyle Kelly is a great athlete, right? We know we got playmakers, we got a stable of backs, right? All the ingredients are there. Now it's just how they're putting it together, or the way they're going about their business, or how they, call plays, or whatever the case may be. That's the part that we have to figure out. And Keith said it in his interview. It's just that first year there's gonna be, there's gonna be bumps and bruises, right? You're gonna have to go through the growing pains of a new program, right? And I think, that's where I have to give Coach U and his staff some grace, is that this is year one. And going into year two, I feel like they will find out the identity, whether that's the quarterback, they're getting the quarterback that they need and building around that, or just continuing to work on the scheme and the offense that Coach U has, because he's come from, a program where they win 7 games every year, right? So they have to put up some type of points. And I just think year one is going to be bumps and bruises, and just kind of the growing pains of it all. But they have to figure out, they have to be able to, show who they are, because that, I think that's where we're all frustrated and concerned, is who is Ball State offensively? What are we known for? And I think that's where we're missing, is just that knowing, and it sucks, man, because we could be so much better, but we're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just it's just so strange, because we've seen flashes of it at home. Now on the road, it's been bad the whole time, but we've seen some flashes of it at the road. But it's those numbers I was reading earlier, those are even somewhat skewed in a positive light, because we threw for 62 passing yards yesterday, average of 2.8 yards. Well, the longest pass play was 19 yards, which was basically a handoff. So if you take that off, if that's actually a handoff, it's not just a little pop pass up, or they throw 1.7 yards of carry pass. Like that's I've never seen something like that in a college football game. It's just insane. Colin, I know you were there. What did you kind of see? In the stadium, up close and personal.
Right. So I feel like I'm seeing a couple different things. When I was at the game yesterday, what I felt like I was seeing was Kyle would take the snap, he would look downfield, and then he would just tuck it very quickly, and then get happy feet and try to take off. Now, when I went home and I watched the tape and the like extended highlights, I went to a 4th and 2 play, and I pressed play, and then I paused it right when like he had the ball for when he should have thrown it. And there's like a man on each wide receiver. And it's kind of a pattern I'm seeing. And I don't want to give Kyle Kelly too much of a pass. I mean, he has to make the plays. But at the same time, we have to be reasonable. If there's no one open, there's not much he can do. And I know right now, I think he's the most sacked MAC quarterback. So the O-line probably has a little bit to work on, but it might be a chicken or the egg situation. Is he getting sacked because he's tucking it too much and not trusting his arm or trusting the play call, like Willie said, or is the O-line just breaking and then he's immediately having to do something and then he's getting sacked? So that's kind of a chicken or the egg situation. But what I was noticing when I was at the game, and I mean, you could hear it, guys. The crowd actually, I know the picture I posted was of the wayside crowd and there was nobody really there, but on our side, it actually felt like some people came out to support. I mean, we were undefeated at home. People wanted to see us do it, protect the shoe, be undefeated there. But unfortunately, what ended up happening, and kind of fairly quickly, is you could hear the crowd yelling, "Throw it!" It almost seemed like he was just gun shy, maybe a little shell shocked at all the pressure, whatever was coming. And it was an ugly day, guys. It was really ugly. But yeah, and I don't know. I don't know why we're not seeing people getting open down the field. But I think that's been a pattern on the year too. Like normally, like you said, John, you'll see one play where there's just a guy wide open. And we'll call a spade a spade. If there are guys wide open and Kelly is not hitting them, we are going to tell you. But I didn't see that. And I want to be real to the fans, because if you're not being real to the fans, why are they going to tune into Ball State of the Union? Like, that's what we're really doing it for. But at the same time, guys, I didn't see any like egregious plays where it was like, dang, that dude was just wide open and Kelly just missed it. And I'm talking live, I didn't see it. And I'm talking, on the film, I didn't really see that either. So I don't know what it is, guys.
Yeah, the only really egregious play that I saw him have yesterday was that interception in the red zone. Like that cannot happen that way. You can't throw across the field like that. That can't happen. Yeah. So Willie, like, I guess just to be blunt, is there any way to fix this the last 2 weeks? Is there any way for this offense to get going? Do they just need to completely scrap even trying to throw the ball and get creative running it in all different ways? Like, is there any way to even have a chance in these last 2 games to get this offense going? Because as of right now, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to.
Yeah, it's hard to think positive, especially after what we saw yesterday. It's like it's been like that all year. We got 2 games left. They still have a possibility of going bowling.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome, and it's a blessing, and that should be enough motivation to get your shit right for these next 2 weeks. I think even with Saturday, it's senior day, last home game. You're protecting the shoe. You got great weather. You can go undefeated at the shoe this year. It's like, how much more motivation do you need to go out there and kick somebody's ass and execute the offense at the same time? It's like it's a mentality, and I continue to say it because I see it. It's like there is no confidence or no juice in what they're doing, and it only happens like when they're at the end of the game and they score a touchdown or, and we've seen flashes all year, guys. Like we've seen flashes of what the 60, 70-yard runs look like, or the big time throw to Magwood to put us in position to win the game, right? We've seen these flashes, man. It's not consistent. It's not consistent. There's no confidence in it. Like when I see Kyle throw the ball, I don't see confidence. I don't see him ripping it through the air and getting it. Because I remember the second play of the game, they ran a motion and I think Kyle was rolling out to the left, and he missed Magwood on the sideline. He ran like a little out route, and it was just like wide open. It's just like those routine plays have to be made.
Mhm.
There's no excuse. Like those have to be completed because that's what gets the drive going, right? Like you miss, like let's just say he completes that pass for 15 yards, right? Versus an incomplete pass, and now it's 3rd and 8 on the first drive. Like there's two different mindsets with that. It's like I have to complete this ball. There is no, especially when it's wide open, like you got to complete it. And I think that's Kyle is at that point where it's just like, man, it's up here, dog. It's really all up here. And like, yeah, he's not the best, most accurate quarterback, right? But
Mhm.
this guy is a dog, and he's been making plays all year, right? But he has to be in the mentality wise. It's just like I gotta complete this. Like I gotta execute the offense before anybody else, right? And everybody else will fall into place after that, you know. And that's why I keep talking about Keith. Like Keith was in control. We've all felt that. Everybody in that huddle felt that moxie, that competitive nature, right? Guys feed off of that, especially in the huddle. Like if they can see it in your face or hear it in your voice when you're calling the play, right? And I think that's another element of it too, John. It's just like, you know, is that juice really flowing through these guys' veins to be able to like, like on edge to go get that shit done and do it a way that, we know Ball State Cardinals, like we know how we're supposed to play. We know the type of game that we could play, but we've fallen short because I believe it's a mindset at the end of the day. Like they gotta get their mind right. These last two games, it's like, dude, like you got everything in front of you still. Like, what do you want? You know, get the job done, execute the offense, and they just got to get better, man. They just got to continue to get reps. Like Keith said, like Keith does not throw me a moon ball or throw me the ball if we're not getting reps every single week. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not happening. So it's a combination of all that, John. But at the end of the day, it's on Kyle and it's his mentality, man. It's the mentality, and everybody else will follow suit, man. Because it starts with the quarterback, man. He's the captain. He's the general. He has to lead, and it goes from there.
So you brought up an interesting point there. We are still alive to go to a bowl game. It's obviously a very tall task going at
Hmm.
Toledo and at Miami of Ohio. So my question for both of you, I'll start with you, Colin. Going into the Toledo game, do we see any major changes in personnel or in the offensive scheme? Do you think will it be anything starkly different with how plays are run or who's running the plays next Saturday at Toledo?
Well, I hope they change the offensive scheme because honestly, they're not scheming people open.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys remember a couple weeks ago, that 4th and 2 play to Cam Anthony, where
Mm-hmm.
he was like wide open, like
Yep.
we need to see more of that. It can't just be in really crucial moments. Now we're scheming guys open because what I think is what's happening is there might be too much pressure on Kyle to throw guys open.
Mm-hmm.
We might just need to play just like something easy for him, like Willie said, just start the game. Here's something real quick, get in rhythm. Like we might need that every drive, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, and there's not those easy passes there, and I think we need to scheme that open. You're talking about, is who's going to be starting and who's going to be filling these positions, in the next two games. I don't think we can even. I wouldn't want us to take out Kelly and put in Walter Taylor really right now, just because like it's been a ton of games where this is pretty much what's going on. Like the offense is kind of just getting dragged by the defense, getting dragged, and then finally they get going and do something to take the lead. Now, if you had a guy that was behind Kyle Kelly, like Walter Taylor looks the part, but if you had a
Hmm.
guy, Walter Taylor, Aiden Lethler that you really believed in, John, they would already be out there. They would already
Mm-hmm.
be out there.
Hmm.
And now maybe like Quay Ashley. I don't know if he's coming back. So we might get a heavy dose of TJ Horton. I'm hoping we hear something soon about Quay Ashley, but those are the kind of things I'm looking at. Like we didn't even have Quay Ashley that last game.
Mm-hmm.
So did that hurt? Did that hurt the offense too? I mean, maybe, probably, but I don't really know. Is he going to come back? Like, how can I say, oh, well, we might win one of the last 2 games when our starting transfer running back, isn't playing for us. Like, I'm really unsure.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks right now, and you brought up a good point there, talking about the scheme and putting a lot on Kyle's arm, which I think everyone out there knows we want to focus with his legs and the legs in that running back room. But the problem is we start off so slow on offense. We're playing from behind all the time, and we don't really have much of a choice but to throw. So Willie, I'll pose the same question to you. Going into the Glass Bowl next week, do we see the same offensive personnel? Do we see a different offensive scheme? What do we see any major changes next week?
I don't think so. I mean, with 2 games left, I don't think they're going to reinvent the wheel at this point. But I do think that I believe that they should throw some wrinkles in the game plan. And like Colin said, like Kyle is not a traditional quarterback, right? So you have to be able to scheme plays up for this guy to where the completion is right there, right? And if it's not there, you go to 2, and if it's not there, take off, right? It has to be so much simpler because if you're just calling plays for this kid and he's got to read the field, like I don't think that's his strength right now. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the time, like he might not have as much time to be able to read left to right or find the matchup, and all that stuff that goes into it. But I don't think they reinvent the wheel or anything like that. But I do think that they throw in some wrinkles to where they can take advantage of some of Toledo's looks on defense, and like they did with Kent State when they won the game off the leak play. You know what I'm saying? So I think they should put some wrinkles in, but I see them running their same stuff, and they just got to continue to get better at it, John. Like they have to keep repping it, and they have to be able to perfect it at least before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah. The really worrisome thing I'm seeing that kind of became a pattern this year was teams' defenses having their best day and their best game against us. So we saw that with NIU. They really, their defense is already actually pretty solid, but like they held us down 7 points, tripled us on the scoreboard, 21-7. Eastern Michigan, after this game, shout out to Vanzi, our last guest before Keith Wenning, but he messaged me and was like, hey, I'm sorry you guys lost, but this is literally the best that Eastern Michigan defense has looked all season. So now it's kind of a pattern. Western Michigan, too. I mean, I was there in that front row, 42-0. We couldn't get anything going. And I mean, Purdue, 31-0. Auburn, it's Auburn, but like, it's a pattern of either like we either, get going and do a little something, or it's a flat line. And somebody's got to be able to rub the defibrillator pads together and shock this team, whether it's, Coach U's play calling, whether it's Kyle Kelly throwing somebody open because he has to, whether it's TJ Horton making that play or somebody on the kickoff return housing it. Somebody's got to make a play when there's nothing. And just unfortunately, a lot of these games, the defense is just holding them down, hoping and praying somebody's going to make a play. And these last couple, other than Kent State, NIU, EMU, games like that, it's just been lifeless. And it's unfortunate.
One more thing before we kind of get to our final takeaways from this. And I apologize to Mr. Akron Zipped Up if he's listening right now. But boys, how bad is Akron's defense if we did that to them? They have to be horrible, because that's like the one outlier here. Obviously, notwithstanding the New Hampshire game, obviously, there is a step up in talent that Ball State should have, being an FBS team versus the FCS team. But really, the only team that they posed their will offensively was Akron, and that's the outlier. At the time, we were hoping that was going to be, more as we were getting into MAC play. We had put up 20 against Ohio. We were hoping that this was going to be the norm, and that is definitely not the case. So, Mr. Zipped Up, I apologize if you're listening. It's not an unintended shot at you, but yeah, that's the outlier here. You look at that schedule and you see that 42 points, and you're like, dang, how did that happen? UConn, they did play well. They did play well against UConn. That was another one. Yeah, I'll give you that one. So, yeah, so just a bad day, and it feels like too often we're getting on here and talking about these bad offensive days, and we had Willie Snead and Keith Wenning on the show today. We're used to seeing some great offensive football here in Muncie, and unfortunately, we're just not seeing it right now. And hopefully, it doesn't come back to bite them. They got a lot of work ahead of them now. They had this set up very nicely for them, going back 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they put themselves in a hole now. It's not, and I'm not saying they can't get out of it. They found ways to win games late, against Ohio, against Kent State. Maybe they haven't looked their best, but they found ways to win. But they're going to have to go on the road now to 2 very good teams and figure it out if they want the chance to keep playing, after that 12th game. So, Willie, I'll kick it back to you. What's kind of your final takeaway from what you saw yesterday, or how you think it plays out against Toledo? Kind of wherever you want to take it, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think offensively, I mean the team itself, it's like we have a good team, right? The defense has shown who it can be, and I'm just proud of those guys because they've gotten better since the beginning of the season started. And special teams has been up and down, but it's been consistent in terms of just like putting our offense and defenses in good position, right? And it's good to see DC, get his kicks through. But offensively, man, it's like you have to have some pride about what you're doing out there. And I think a lot of the times when I watch these guys, there's no pride in what they're trying to accomplish. And it hurts me to say that because it's like, I know those kids and I know how good they can be. I know they're working their asses off. I know they're putting the time in, right? But they got to figure out, they got to somehow put it all together for 4 quarters, right? I want to see Kyle get a 200-yard passing game, right? Like like all that stuff they can do, but they have to be able to go all in these last 2 games and sell out for their brother, right? Because that's all they have is these last 2 games, and unfortunately they're on the road, but they mean something. These games mean something, especially now, right? This is it. You only get so many numbers of games. You got 2 left, and if you do what you need to do, by the grace of God, this team will go bowling. And that would be a huge accomplishment for this team with just how it's been all year, going up and down, right? But offensively, man, it's just that is not the standard, man. What they put on tape yesterday was just not Ball State football. And I don't know what they need to do between now and Saturday, but they got to mentally, they got to figure that shit out, and they got to go to work tomorrow and have the best week of practice to be able to give themselves a chance to do something awesome on Saturday. Because Toledo is not no world beaters now, right? They're a great team. They're gonna come to play, right? They got playmakers, but we got playmakers too. You know what I'm saying? And Ball State has done great stuff in the glass ball and made some great upsets. So it's not impossible to accomplish what these guys need to do, but fellas, if that mind is not right, going on the road, stepping on that turf, that glass turf, you guys already know what to expect, man. And I don't want to say it out loud, but it's just like that's the inevitable part. It's like that's what's going to happen if we don't do what we need to do.
Yeah. And everyone out there listening, we got a big crowd tonight watching. We appreciate everyone watching. If you haven't already, get some questions in here. We're going to get to those here in just a second. Be sure to like the stream wherever you're watching it, repost it, subscribe to it on the YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. We love it. We got a big crowd here tonight. It's probably a combination of getting the boys back together with Willie and Keith, and obviously, people wanting to talk about, what we saw yesterday, which was not great. And, Colin, when we were talking before the season, man, I could not imagine sitting here with what we saw last year from our offense and our defense being here now. They have completely flipped. I don't think anyone had many expectations for Ball State's defense coming to this year, and they have played so much better. So, I'll pose the same question to you, just to Willie. What's kind of your final takeaway from this game and the implications it has the rest of the year, or even, looking ahead to next weekend?
The tagline for the season right now is opportunity squandered, but the season's not over. So this happened in the NIU game, big letdown. Happened in the Eastern Michigan game, huge letdown. But there is a lot to play for. And obviously one of those things is your pride. But a huge thing is still a bowl game. If you go 6-6, I say this all the time. That's the beautiful thing about Ball State. If you go 6-6 here and go to a bowl game, we will look at you and tell you had a crazy, successful, impressive season. And that is still on the table. But when the team is playing like this, it's hard to really predict that. And Willie is 100% right. If we go down to Toledo, this is the Alabama of the MAC, and it's not their best year. They're not world beaters, really, like Willie said. But if you go down there, Toledo, and you don't show up, they're gonna put belt to bottom. So we need to make sure, like, we get in there and we at least show a little pride and don't get blown out of the water. But obviously, everybody wants these final 2 wins. If we can somehow pull off a win like at Toledo, everyone will be salivating for that 6-6 bowl game. But until we see it, we just haven't seen it. And it's just like the pod, until we break through, you don't break through until you break through. It's the same for this football team. Like, every game it's win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Well, now we just lost. Is it time for that win, that get back win? So we'll see. Is it going to hold true to the pattern, or is it going to be like last year, guys? I don't know if you remember. Mike knew some of the players already hit the portal at that point. And then we go into those next 2 games and pretty much just quit. Like, didn't even really show a ton of heart. So are they going to show some heart? Are they going to play for Coach U? Are they going to play for the fans? Are they going to play for the parents that show up and support the team? Play for everybody, for the whole Ball State ecosystem. Like, you gotta represent us. So I hope they do. But right now, tagline, opportunity squandered, but season's not over. We'll see if they turn it around, John. But as it is, I don't see it happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Willie alluded to it a little while back. Talking about that senior day in their last game at the Shoe, and it's like that has to have left a bad taste in a lot of those guys' mouths. Even the guys who aren't seniors, guys who are going to move on after this year. That's their lasting memory they're going to have of their last game at Ball State. Right. You do not want that to replicate these next 2 weeks, because you will not be happy with yourselves and how you feel going forward. So, it's just kind of, can you pull yourself up? There's nothing you can do about last week now. That's over and gone with. Can you get right? Can you go on the road and shock the people out there and figure out a way to win 2 games on the road at really tough environments? So, I'm with Colin. I don't really see that happening right now, and there would be nothing happier for me than to be wrong about that. I hope I am. I hope we look back here in a couple of weeks and everyone can tell me what an idiot I am and that I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's just like, I just haven't seen it. We haven't seen it yet, and I don't really know how anyone expects us to say anything different. If we say something different than that, we're just going to come off as disingenuous, and I don't want that to be the case. I want people to be able to come here and know they're going to get an unbiased look at Ball State football, and that's what we're trying to do here. So. Yeah, it's just can you sack up and go figure out how to win 2 games on the road? Again, we still haven't won any road games this year. Do you want your season to end with not winning any road games? Right. I don't think I would like that. So, all right, we'll get into the some listener questions and comments here, and we'll get everyone out. Again, we have a huge audience here tonight. We appreciate everyone watching. It's been a long one, but people are staying with us, so we appreciate everyone spending their Sunday night with us. So over on YouTube, Jalen. Shout out to Ball State Football Talk shirt at the game yesterday. Good advertising. Were you wearing a Ball State Union shirt? What were you wearing yesterday, Colin?
I was. I had the black Ball State of the Union with the logo right in the middle with the QR code on the back. I tried to make sure I got up and walked around, talked to people. I actually was in the concourse, and this kid, I think he probably college-age student with one of his buddies, like pointed and was like, love the pod. So this is now something that's happened to me multiple times. I go to a game, even at Western Michigan, I had a dad stop me and tell me, like, thank you for what you guys are doing. So now we're starting to get recognized at the game. It's building. Like John said, we're already over 300 subscribers. Join the union. Keep pushing us. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep giving you guys great coverage.
And if you see Colin at a game wearing that shirt, be sure to scan that QR code on his shirt. Don't scan a picture of his butt. Scan that QR code on his shirt, and it'll take you to all of our social pages, and you'll be able to follow us all there. So
shout out to Who Dat Nation, Jalen.
Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, I see him in okay, Who Dat? There you go. Colin, your buddy, Mr. Voras. He said that game broke his heart yesterday. Did you see Mr. Voras yesterday?
I didn't, which is strange because I was at the tailgate Mr. Voras goes to every now and then, and I even went back to the tailgate to discuss what we saw on the field afterwards. I didn't see him, so it was kind of a bummer. I was looking forward to the double IPA, but I had a couple good boys, so it was okay. I got my drinks in. But Mr. Boris, I did miss you at the game. But yeah, this was a tough game, and no sacks for Nate, which was terrible. I was hoping to get one.
Yeah,
I was hoping he got one.
so Nate is still going to be on that record watch. He's still got 2 games to get 2 sacks, so still well within reach. But yeah, just a couple games left. But yeah, we were on that one very early in the year, so I'm happy that it's gotten close like it has. Tim had chimed back in. He meant to say the 2013 game, so that 2013 game in IU, which we talk about often on the show here. But yeah, he said you guys are a couple of greats here, Willie. So I would say you're a couple of the best. So who dat? Our friend Jalen again. He felt like we needed Quay yesterday. Yeah. Again, he definitely would have made a difference, I think, but they were able to sell out on the run pretty easily, and they just weren't. Do you guys think this would have changed much with Quay Ashley? I feel like he would have maybe changed a little bit, but I don't know that it changes everything.
I'll be honest about this, and this is going into next year. I really think that I hope Quay stays for his senior year, because you got him, TJ Horton, and then you probably got 1 or 2 more backs. Like, their stable is nice, and I think they would be a great 1-2 punch, kind of like what Quake and Banks were back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But he just has to stay healthy, man. It's hard for a running back to stay healthy, especially when you're taking all those blows. But I think, honestly, if that kid stays for his senior year, and that's what we keep talking about, this second year with Coach U, we expect it to be better, right? I think all of us can say that, for him, and it just depends how these last 2 games go. Like, this could be a successful season, even though it's 6 wins, right? Because honestly, like, Ball State hasn't been this competitive, in a couple of years, So that's something to build on. And I think if Quay and TJ Horton are part of that formula for next year, I think they can have a really special year. That's just my 2 cents looking at it from the outside in. But I think, and you brought this up, Colin, we were talking about it before. I really think if he stays, he'll benefit a lot from it, and I think the team will be better for it as well.
John, I do think.
Go ahead. Yep.
I do think if we had Quay, it would have made a bit of difference, just because it was such a heavy dose of TJ Horton, and we did sprinkle in another backup, like a backup behind TJ Horton here and there. But that 1-2 punch of Quay, like, guys, I'm telling you, at the game, we were looking for any weapon, anyone that was going to give us a little life. We were even targeting Eric Weatherly a lot to, like, kind of get him going. And it just would have been nice to have one more piece to kind of throw in there to, like, okay, distract the defense. Now you got to watch out for Quay. And then TJ Horton's giving you something different over here. Maybe it wouldn't have made the complete difference, but I think it probably would have helped a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Our friend Shay, as always, over on Twitter, I was asking he wants to see on. He's got a list for us, Willie. You tell me if he's missing anybody from this list. You got Nate Ollie, Jonathan Newsom, Jamil Smith, Steven Schott, Zane Fakes, Connor Ryan, Sean Baker, and Nick Traub, because he's got a whole season's worth. Is there anyone on that list? I know we've talked about some of these names have coming on before, Willie. Is there anyone else that he omitted that you maybe would like to see on the show as well?
Aaron Hepp.
Okay, yes.
Aaron Hepp. He's down in Alabama doing his thing. Jordan Williams is another one.
Yes.
Kevon Mabon. I think Tyree Holder. Used to play corner. He's a younger guy. Jeff Garrett. Jeff Garrett is an elite corner, man. He was all MAC for, I think, 3 years. Jason Pinkston went to school with Trav and Jay New. So, he's a Glenville guy. And I'll even give my guy a shout out, Shane Bell, play receiver with me a couple years. That's my dog. But that's a solid list. I would probably add Scott Cavanda too. Scott Cavanda and Scott Secor.
Okay. Our friend Dave over on Instagram, he's BSU Edits. He's like the #1 Ball State specialist fan. So I think if we had Scott Cavanda on, Willie, he's a huge fan of yours. He's the guy who has I think he has a jersey from every stop you had in the NFL. But
Yeah, I BSU Edits, right? You said.
But I think he's a bigger Scott Cavanda fan than even a Willie Snead fan. So if we have Scott Cavanda on, we might have to get him on here with us.
I'm gonna have to find him because he's that type of guy that's like not on social.
Yeah. All right. Where in the world is Scott Cavanda? That's gonna be our new series. So Mr. Szymborski, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but is it time to make a change and play for the future? If not, when is that time? I guess it just depends on a couple of things. Like, I think if they lose at Toledo, we could see some other people playing against Miami of Ohio, maybe even just all right, let's get you guys out here and see what you got. I don't necessarily know that they're going to make a change with Kyle Kelly for a couple of reasons. Number one, like Colin said, it feels like with how the offenses looked, if they were going to make a change, they probably already would have done it. And secondly, Kyle Kelly's a fifth-year guy who ended up coming back. I don't see them sitting him his last college game, at Miami of Ohio if that was to happen. But I could see if they lose to Toledo, them making a handful of changes going into that Miami of Ohio game. Willie, is that out of line? Is that crazy? Or could you see them doing something like that if they'd lost and they're not bowl eligible going in that Miami of Ohio game, maybe trying to get a couple other guys in?
I could definitely see that, allowing guys to get their feet wet. I mean, shit. Even if this Saturday, if stuff ain't clicking, it's like, why not?
This Saturday, if it's not clicking, it's basically the last chance on your goals, pretty much.
I was going to say, why not? Why not? Change it up. Because it's like at this point, it's like 2 games. It's like if you want to be competitive, right, to be able to make a push to a bowl game, right, you got to be able to do what you got to do. If that means making a pull here and putting somebody else in, it's like you got to do what you got to do, because it's like you got 8 games of footage of what it looks like, right? And it's like it hasn't been good enough, most times. So that could happen, but I could definitely see if we lose this coming Saturday, I could definitely see them making some changes going into the last game just to kind of see what they got going into next year.
Mm-hmm. Colin, what about you? Do you think there's any changes in plans either this week or potentially next week, given how that game might go?
I don't know if there's any, plans to do it, but if this Toledo game does, start and it's kind of the same old offense, kind of slow to start, maybe the coaching staff does have a quicker leash to pull and put in maybe Walter Taylor to see what he looks like or whatnot, because this is the last game that our chances for our goals are within grasp. Mm-hmm. So if we blow this, I mean, there's no bowl game. So I could see it. What I think Szymborski's maybe thinking about too is those players that are red shirts. So like Lucas Szymborski already has his red shirt year. Do you think about putting in some of those players that are freshmen that didn't really play this whole year, just to see what you've got, even in terms of like recruiting for next year? Like, I think that might be decent to know what you have and where you have it at, in any position in general. So especially if Toledo doesn't go right, I think we could see a lot of that in Miami, just kind of looking at what the future has in store for us already.
Mm-hmm. All right, our friend Allie over on YouTube. Shout out Allie. He's always in the chat dropping comments, so we appreciate you. He's got some nice things to say. He said he's so impressed with the regular guest appearances on the show. Props to John. So thank you for that. But I'm not the only person. These guys help me get people on here all the time as well. This podcast punches well above its weight class, just like Ball State. Good work, boys. So shout out, good work, boys. I know, Willie, you've got Travis and you've got Keith on. I know Colin in the past. You've got Kyle Kelly and Keon Magwood, and we've all had a handful of people. So I think people are digging the player interviews. So I think we're going to keep rolling with those, especially now that we have Willie on here as well. Guys he played with, they just have that connection already and that chemistry that, Colin and I as fans just don't have because we don't personally know them. So I think we'll keep it coming.
Those guys want to be on the pod, man. They repping the pod. They like the pod.
There we go. Shout out the pod. And the last one, Colin, I got bad news for you here. Mr. Voris came over twice.
Wow.
Dang, I missed him.
You just missed
I
him.
missed him.
You missed him with
Must-
the double IPAs, and so that might be a good thing.
Shout out, good boys.
But all right, boys,
Mhm.
I'll give you guys each the floor. Any last comments you got here, Colin? I'll start with you before we wrap up.
Yeah, I just want to thank the fans because we had over 410 people just watching on Twitter. And then we've got people watching on YouTube. We got people watching on Facebook. This was a huge video for us. Guys, if you like what you saw, make sure you go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get as many possible just to build this base. The goal is like 1,000, but for this year, we've only been doing it 10 months. We're already over 300. Help us keep building. We do it for you guys. So thank you, and we'll keep it going.
Willie, any last thoughts?
Yeah, no, I appreciate everybody, you guys hanging in tonight. And this pod, was a little bit longer than normal, but it was all good, man, because we got to talk to the legendary Keith Wenning, got to, pick his brain a little bit, go down, history lane, and then, always trying to talk up Ball State football, right? Whether it's a great win or an ugly loss, right? We're always going to try to, bring everything to light in both of the positive and, sometimes constructive criticism, because at the end of the day, we love Ball State football. All of us love Ball State, period. And we want to see these guys play at their best every single week. So, I'm grateful for you guys. I appreciate you guys always for even bringing me on the pod and being a part of you guys, what you guys are doing. So I always appreciate you guys, but I definitely appreciate the fans too, who are just continuing to support what we're trying to do and just bringing light to Ball State football, Ball State sports in general over time. But I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, John. Appreciate you, Colin. And, we will see you guys on Wednesday, I think, right?
That's right. Yeah.
We did.
Before we wrap up, I got one more thing. I meant to bring it up during the show, and I completely forgot. So one thing we've talked about a lot on the show this year is the Together pod, the Together show that Ball State Sports Thing's going on. And Jude is the one who is like the director and the producer for it. Guys, I was watching the game yesterday, and he got lit up on the sideline.
No.
He got smoked on the sideline. So, Jude, I hope you're okay. I think you popped right up. I think you're doing all right. But I did see Jude down there with his camera, and someone got hit, and I saw it pop up, and it was him. So, Jude, I hope you're doing all right. If you're watching right now, I hope you're doing okay. And we'll hopefully that shot is included in this episode this week because I want to see what it looks like. So, again, over 400 people watching right now. This is by far the biggest show we've ever done. So we appreciate everyone sticking with us. It's 10:20 on a Sunday evening, and people are here sitting watching and talking Ball State football with us. So we appreciate everyone out there. Again, if you haven't already, be sure you go over there and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, and we're going to bump those numbers up as much as we can. Like this show, leave some comments, interact with us wherever you see us. And until then, on Wednesday, we'll be back with the Toledo preview. And until then, everyone out there in Cardinal land, chirp, chirp, and go Cardinals.